Okay, Tracy and Roman, you're both live now.
Yep. Hi everyone, good evening. Sorry we're a bit late tonight. Just to introduce, we have Roman Light here, who is from France. Now, Roman Light was in the UK on the 26th, Saturday just gone. Unfortunately, that was the only time I wasn't out in London, so I didn't have the honour of meeting Roman that day. So we've invited him on our show so we can explain to you all what's going on in France, and for anyone who doesn't know about the yellow vests, that is so important to the people now. Roman, could you just introduce yourself, please, to the audience that are with us tonight and explain who you are?
Hi everyone, hi Tracy, hi Jason, thank you for inviting me again. Who am I? I'm just a simple father who is concerned about the future of my kids. I see a lot of negative behavior coming from the political side. I'm not an activist. I wasn't an activist until recently. I never voted in my life. I never believed in the democratic system of giving my power away to someone else that's going to make decisions on my behalf. I have quite a strong background in terms of study, but then I spent years relearning everything by myself, reprogramming myself, forgetting basically everything that I thought was true. So I will have an opportunity to rediscover everything, my own self inquiry and my own way of questioning and feeling the notion of truth. And now I come to a point where I feel the need to share what I understand. And I made that video a month and a half ago about France has a message for the world, about the yellow vest, because I was fed up of hearing lies and fake news about the true purpose and the true reason why the French people are in the streets. And suddenly I've the video gone viral, and I suddenly became a good representative of the yellow vest movement internationally, let's say. So I don't want to mention myself as a leader or whatever, because the yellow vest doesn't recognize leaders at all. We don't recognize leaders. We don't recognize violence. We are for peaceful protest. We do not recognize political parties. So whoever is claiming to be a yellow vest and have a political agenda, no matter what it is, we don't recognize it as yellow vest. The only revendication that the yellow vests are all agreeing about is the referendum initiated by the citizen. And that's the work that I did over the last month and a half, spreading the RIC, referendum initiated by the citizen, across the world to as many countries as I can. That's me.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Roman. Just to say, we followed in French, the French's suit, and 34 of us came out 2 weeks before Christmas and started the yellow vests over here and went along exactly the same lines. No leaders. We do have organisers, you know, in each areas of the cities in the UK. We do have that, because you find when you start that you do need to organise it. And in the end, you just hope everyone comes there every week at that time and they will know that other yellow vesters are on the streets. And you're absolutely right. When we started this, all of a sudden, when we came back and looked on Facebook, you would find lots of people had started up yellow vest groups. Some of them were asking for money, you know, and infiltrating a movement that I personally believe is the one movement that the establishment fear. Now, in the UK now, there is a D notice where they're not allowed to really report on us now. And I know the same with the French. To see anything that's going on France, you either have to watch the live feeds or who is it who does it? Is it RT? RT do video what's going on in France at the moment. And I know the French people are suffering a lot of brutality. And 3 weekends ago, we did go and stand outside on a Saturday outside the French embassy. Then we went up outside the French consulate and done live feeds out there against the brutality that the people of France are receiving. You know, I think the French are very brave. It is here in the UK, and it is building up. It's building up slowly, but each week more and more are coming out. More cities are joining us. And as I said, I believe this is the one movement that can unite everyone, because we need to take back control. Now, we started doing it under the RIC, exactly what you just stated, the referendum initiated by the citizens. The only issue we encountered with that here in the UK, because we've got Brexit going on, people was not understanding that and thinking we're saying we want a second referendum, and we're like, no, that's not what it is. So it's trying to educate that that is not what we are talking about at all. You know, I'm a Leaver, so I certainly wouldn't be talking about a second referendum. So it's explaining that a bit more. Could you take over and explain a bit more of what a referendum initiated by the citizens mean, please?
Yeah, so a lot of people think that because they know what referendum is, they actually understand that what is the RIC. The RIC is not that much about the process of the referendum. It's more about the initiative. The key words is initiative. We have been convinced, or we've been programmed to believe that the executive power, which actually is a false name because they are executing the laws, but they also have the initiative of the laws. And if you pay attention, the word initiative is not in the government because they're afraid that people will actually awake to the fact that we have been taken away the initiative of our destiny. And this is something that is really wrong, because if we are losing the initiative, then we are dependent of someone else's initiative. So no matter if you want to have a laws to be applied or voted or discussed, if you don't have the initiative of providing that law, then you have nothing. Like, you always is dependent on someone else. So that basically was the base of the realization that we are politically powerless if we don't have the power to trigger that the initiative of whatever we want to talk about. Then we're not free. We are going into a canvas, into a funnel, and that funnel is controlled by people who claim to do things with your interest, and we all know now that it's not exactly the case. So the referendum initiated by the citizen is that very tiny simple idea that we should have the right to trigger a national referendum from our own initiatives. So how do we do that? We basically start with a poll, let's say, about a question that has to do with politics, with food, with education, with medical, with international treaty or whatever. We call it in all matter, like in all matters, so constitutional, legislative, international, executive, so in every aspect of the law. And we start that polls, and if, let's say, 1% of the population vote or sign that document, then we want to have a legal organism that will be in charge to start a national referendum from our own initiative. So, like, I understand that, like, England is going through two major problems. The first one is that you guys, like us, don't have the initiative of the referendum. And the second point is that even if you make a referendum, the powers still have, the people in power still have the choice to listen to it or not, which is two major problems. Because if the people don't have the choice to start whatever they want to talk about, and whenever they make a decision, the government can still decide whether or not they're going to listen or not, then therefore, why do we call that a democracy? Like, it's completely the opposite of a democracy, because democracy means demos kratos, the power to the people, the power from the people. But if the people can't say anything, or if they say something, the people in power don't care, like, we need to wake up to that point. Like, it's getting ridiculous. And when I've been in the UK, I spoke to a lot of people, and I was like, I understand why you guys are not protesting that much, because since the Brexit was started, like, you guys, your economy actually went better, like the unemployment reduced, and a lot of positive things happened to the UK, which is not a good terrain if you really want to make a revolution. But something is telling me that if Brexit is rejected, then, like, you're going to have a lot of people who will want to wear a yellow vest. So that's the point. The people only want to care when they feel stressed, or when they feel that they don't have the choice. And this is what normal people do. Like, normal people don't want to deal with pedophilia or international sex trafficking and shit like this, because normal people are good people, and good people don't want to care about disgusting things, because that's what normal people do. And thanks to the psychopaths and people in power, they don't really leave us alone, so they give us an opportunity to get out of our comfortable zone and basically express and address that thing, which is that we are politically powerless, and this needs to stop.
Absolutely.
Hello, Tracy.
Yes.
Can I just ask Raymond a question? I saw on his live feed recently, he mentioned some statistics regarding the arrests and imprisonments and the casualties with the Yellow Vest movement in France. Could Roman go through those statistics so people can really understand what's happening in France? Or what's happening?
Yeah, sure. First of all, it's very difficult to know exactly the numbers because the government is hiding everything. But we estimate that there's about 200 people who has been badly injured. So when we say badly injured, is that people who lost an eye, people who lost a hand or foot, broken ribs, coma. So we talk about 200 people, which is huge. It's a huge repression, and the amount of pictures of anonymous people, because recently we heard about Jérôme Rodriguez, which is he is popular as a Yellow Vest because he's just a genuine guy that used to make a lot of live events and speak to a lot of people. But there's a lot of anonymous guys who has been injured exactly like him, and that has no media coverage. I know personally at least two people. One is a lady that has received a plastic bullet in the jaw, and her jaw was broken in 3 pieces. And she wasn't even protesting. She was completely aside of the manifestation. She was just filming. Like, she had a phone, and the guy shoot her in the face for no reason, just because he could. And I have another one who actually has received the bullet in the eye and lost an eye. So when we hear that thing, it's really outrageous. But what really pissed me off is the fact that there's a total blackout all across the world. The only media that is covering the information properly is RT, Russia Today. They are the only one who are on the ground having a fair position, like showing the truth, not trying to say that the Yellow Vests haven't done anything wrong. Like, of course, like, we have our fair share, but like, people come with no weapons, nothing. Like, they are constantly checked before they go into the protest. So there was some situation where people couldn't even wear a head mask to protect themselves because they said that they could use it as a weapon. So this is even going against military and like, you don't see that in war. Like, in war, the people are more civilized than what's happening in France. In France, we see some scenes where people who has been shot in the face are bleeding on the ground, and the cops are pushing away the medics, saying, "You can't touch that guy." And you're like, what? There are civilians shot by cops who are there to protect them, and the medics cannot even get close to the body to save him. Like, this is going completely insane. And the fact that there's a total blackout and the people are absolutely not aware of what's happening just on the other side of the ocean, of the sea. You're like, we're not far away, guys. Like, it's just like, wow, this is amazing.
I heard you mention something about suicides as well, Roman.
Yes, I mentioned the fact that there has been a suicide of a cop literally every 2 days. I think there's no cop who's been killed by a Yellow Vest, but there has been about 25 to probably now 30 cops who kill themselves since the beginning of the event, because, like, the stress is so high. They're working 7 days on 7 since now 3 months, and the government doesn't even pay the extra hours. So it's just the most ridiculous, pathetic situation. So those people are like beating up some Yellow Vest, and when they come home, the woman just came back from the protest as well with a Yellow Vest. That's the level of schizophrenia that we are going across, because a lot of women are participating to the movement because it is a citizens movement. It's not about a political party. It's not about one section of the population. It's everyone that is concerned. So it's the future. It's the future of our society. It's the future of our children. And the women are really active in France, which is really surprising and very impressive.
Yeah, you're right. You're right there, Roman. I can't speak for the other cities because I haven't been in them. I've watched obviously the live feeds when I've got back home later that night because I'm always in London because it's the closest place that I live. So I'm in London, so I go to the London one. But you're right there. It is more statistically more women than it is men out there on this movement. Just to say that someone asked a question, Roman. They asked, "Do you think the French people were fooled in voting for Macron?"
Yeah, obviously, but the people needs to understand that Macron has been elected probably with about 25% of the population. If we just look at how many people voted in the first tour and how many people voted in the second tour, most of the people in the second tour only voted against Le Pen. They didn't vote for Macron. They voted against Le Pen because Le Pen is the big, nasty fascist, blah, blah, blah. Like they created that entity for years. So therefore, like even if a cow was in front of Le Pen, the cow would be president of France. You know, like that stupid funnel that they put in place. Where people are just tricked year after year to believe that the Front National is the enemy. Like, I don't care about the Front National. I'm not voting. I don't believe in any politics. But thinking that one is worse than the other is pathetic. Like, they're all the same. This is the caste. They all work together. They all work for their own interest, and they're all corrupted. So, like, thinking that one is more corrupted than the other is pathetic. Yeah, Macron, people didn't vote for Macron. Like, the only portion of the population who did it is what we call the bourgeoisie. The bourgeoisie are the people who were stupid enough to believe that because that guy looked clever or seems to be clever, which I never really believed, and now we are facing the truth that he's actually stupid. He's actually stupid. But people didn't see that. They were like, oh, you know, he's coming from the Rothschild Bank. He made like, I don't know, 25,000, 50,000 covered of news. So he must be clever because, you know, like everyone said that he was clever, but you know what? He's stupid. Like, which stupid person would actually react the way he did and just put more violence against the people? Like, where do you think you're going to go? Like you're sending, it's not like a country is invading France. It's the French people who are waking up about the pattern and deciding to take the country back. And guess what? Like, there's about 80,000 cops in activity in France. We are 65 million. Like, how do you want to win? Like, seriously, how are you going to win 65 million against 80,000? This doesn't make sense. So, like, but that guy is 40 years old. He has a huge ego, and I believe he's actually quite stupid. He's unexperienced. He actually made his campaign saying, I'm promoting an experience. I'm voting for an experience. So, you know what, friends? Try extreme left, extreme right, try stupid, try useless. Now they're trying unexperienced. And I think that was the last test that they had to do until realizing that we need to get rid of all these people. Like, we need to change the system upside down.
And everything you're talking about is exactly the same here. It's in all European countries, you know. So people need to see that, you know, listening to you could just be listening to someone here in the UK say exactly the same thing, you know. And I see a live feed the other day of the Netherlands have gone up, and there was thousands on the streets. And I know that on the 29th of March, there will be thousands. I'll be surprised if there isn't. You know, 17.4 million voted here for Brexit. You know, and like you just said, and like we've said in live feeds, there is more of us than them. You know, the people have the power. The government will put there, you know, centuries ago to only govern, not to rule us. But what they're doing is ruling us, dictating to us, telling us what we can think, telling us what we can feel. The justice system is infiltrated. I've gone through the justice system in the most horrific way, and it's opened my eyes to everything. You know, I was never a sheep before. I'm I've always been a non-conformist in the fact that I've never conformed. I've always done my own thing. I'm a free thinker and everything else. And I was brought up a certain way. So I wasn't in the category of the sheep, but I just didn't realise what was actually going on in our nation till, if you want to call it the red pill, till I was red pilled in a horrific way, put in the justice system where, you know, the police, the CPS, the courts, and they've done it all in front of your face. You know, they didn't hide the facts that they were covering it up. They did it in front of you without a care, without a damn of how you felt. They didn't care that they was adding torture upon torture. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, if they've done this to us, who else have they done this to? You know, then obviously researching our case, getting loads of people who was messaging us, going out on the streets, learning of all the atrocities that have been going on, waking up to all the political parties, because all the political parties in the UK are infiltrated. So, you know, you might have one of them give a great speech and everyone think, oh, this is really good, this person is really good. Doesn't matter what speech he gives, because the rest of his party is infiltrated. So, you know, it's still going to go along the same lines of the political elite, of the globalism, because Macron, they're all puppets for someone higher, for, you know, puppet masters. And like you, the UK is saying we're not going to be tolerant to the intolerance anymore. And I don't want anyone to go through what we're going through, and they will. There will be another Josh, Harry and George, and there has been before our boys, you know, and the people are now waking up because we're in a system. We want to break out that system to have freedom, which we should be. We don't live in a democracy that they're pretending we live in. We don't.
Yeah, that's the point. They use the word democracy to make us believe that when you elect your masters, you actually have freedom, but we're not voting for our representative. We are electing our masters, and those masters has the right of life and death upon us, and this needs to stop. Like, we cannot continue like this. I spent 7 years in Australia, and I learned a lot about like topics that you spoke through your talk. Actually spent quite a long time on the maritime law and the whole concept of the birth certificate. And we did there's a lot of people in Australia who did a tremendous amount of work in that space, and I'm happy to share with you that we actually found a way to get access to the true birth certificate, because there's actually two birth certificates. You have the birth certificate on the boat, on the ship, and you have the birth certificate on the land. And we actually found a way to get access to the birth certificate of the land, which is very surprising, because then you're like, okay, guys, why do we have two birth certificates? And the point is that if you don't know how to formulate the way you want to speak about your real name, your true name, which is called the Christian name, then you will actually bind to the false name, which is the surname. The surname is the non-Christian name, which is something that the Vatican has a copyright on. And if you introduce yourself with your surname and your full name, they will give you the birth certificate from the maritime law. But if you are if you're giving the right name and the right date of birth, because the right date of birth is not the day when you were born, it's the day when you've been declared, when you've been registered as a ship, as a newborn on that boat. The warship, basically, the warship is the shipping of the war, and the judge in the tribunal are on the boat. That's why you have to go on the bar, and that's also why they have to have their head protected, because they are not going upon the God's laws. They are protecting their heads with something covering their head, because they are not under the true Jesus or the true Christian laws. I'm not religious, by the way. This is just decoding the whole process of that thing. But the people are ignorant about that thing. They are also ignorant about the true language that they're using. They're not speaking English. They're speaking legalese, but they also use like that uppercase letter, which is the true name of uppercase letter is a Dog Latin. And Dog Latin is the Latin of the people who couldn't speak Latin. It's a false version of Latin, and the Dog Latin is basically uppercase letter with no hyphen between letters, where the way Latin used to be written was uppercase letter with hyphen between. So if you're writing uppercase letter without the hyphen in between, you actually create a kind of hieroglyphic writing documents. And if you create a document with lowercase letter and uppercase letter, you are creating a fraud, because you're putting two languages on a legal document. And this is something that not many people understand. But when you go into court and you're starting to challenge the judge on where can they find documents that can prove that uppercase letter equal lowercase letter, basically the judge leave the court when you ask them this question, because they know that that what they're doing is bullshit, and they can't speak on the boat because they would do perjury, and they could be receiving death sentences for claiming to be something. So it's all a game, basically. It's a massive game of ignorance, where there's a team of people who put in place some laws, and they just didn't share that laws with the rest of the people, claiming that this system is organized and right, but the truth is it's not. And now we are opening the gate to that massive deceive, and that's how we can end up with 2 birth certificates, which is the proof that we're all looking for years, that there are 2 types of laws that is happening: the law for the peasants, for the citizens, and the laws for the sovereign. And now we have access to the sovereign laws. So yeah, we're just going to go after them.
You're absolutely right. I was in the appeal courts, the Royal Courts of Injustices, I call them, on the 4th of December. And when I went in there, under the common law, and I stood up and I said I was here under the common law. We have reclaimed our children's birthright. I said to the judge about the courtroom looking like a ship, stop using the maritime law on us. And because I'd said all that, we actually held that court. It's a shame it wasn't televised, because I believe it was history on that day. We held that court for 2.5 hours. All of us that were sitting in the public gallery, we were speaking, we were saying things to the QC, who we caught out on a lie, and then she went and did another further 2 lies. Nothing has happened to her, and that's because the maritime law protects the criminals. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Acts and statutes, so they can make them up. They can make up an act overnight. You know, the law of the land is common law: no loss, no harm, no injury. And people need to learn it. As soon as a constable approaches you and you show them you know about the law, they become confused and they walk off. They try using their sections because they think you don't know what they're talking about. Everything they're doing is illegal, because maritime law cannot be used on land, but they're using it on land. You know, I think it's 3 miles or more out to sea. But there's another legislation, and you can find it online. So all this is researchable, and it's legislation 1666. Convenient, that number, isn't it? And that's about 7 years, isn't it? Once you've done 7 years, I don't know if it was the same in Australia, but after 7 years at sea, when really they're talking about land, you're classed as dead. And then when you're classed as dead, they can get more money for you, because you're not going to say you're alive, because you don't know that you're dead. You know? So look up legislation 1666, because that's an eye-opener, and it's a weird number and all.
Yeah, there's many documents where synchronistically, when you go to the 666 page, you end up seeing funny coincidence, let's say. I heard about the same thing in the Black Dictionary book and many other special documents, where on the 666, this is where you can find the answer. Yeah, like you're right. The corpse oration, the corpse speaking, the dead body speaking, is the disease of that time, because they transformed us into a product and with no consciousness. So we are not occupying our body. We are a soulless body, and the only way to because that was the only way to claim the ownership of the body. Like the soul has to be declared death unborn. Like when you're born, the same way you were birthed on a dock, the doctor actually received you the same way the dock received the birth of the ship. And through your whole life, you're gonna travel from a membership to partnership. You will always be on a ship. Like even the delivery, how do you say in English? The shipping. The shipping of a product is again through the maritime law, because we are facing pirates. Those guys are parrots claiming to be
Yes.
judge and
Yes.
justice, and we are dealing with parrots thinking that we're sovereign, but forgetting that we've been tricked to believe that we're slaves. And when we stand up in the whole glory of our humanity, suddenly the darkness disappear, because it has all been written in the book. You know, like if you want to remove the darkness, you just have to project the light on it, the light of truth, and the darkness disappear. And I heard many cases where it's starting to happen all across the world, where judge has to leave the court or even have to quit, because they know, like in the madness of that system, they know that if they move forward, they're going to be ending up being like death sentenced, because there's absolutely no way they're going to be out of that. So yeah, I'm really excited to share this information, because unfortunately there's not enough people knowing about that thing. I know someone in Australia, that guy who actually got access to his true birth certificate, who in just a few days after he received it, his bank account disappeared, but also his debt disappeared. The mortgage that he has on his house disappeared, because he got access to what he called the office of the creditor. We are operating on the law of the land from the office of the debtor. But when you get access to the true birth certificate, we actually can operate from the office of the creditor. And as soon as you get access to that office, all your debt disappear, basically. And it's a fascinating story. Like, people don't believe that, but it's amazing. Like, it's all there. It's all under our nose. Like in the Bible was written, and I haven't studied any of that. This is all coming from His Word. That if you are worshipping the wrong name, which is the family name, you are going to be considered as a non-Christian. And if you claim to be the owner of that name, then suddenly they will have ownership over your boat, over your vessel. Body is the vessel. The soul is what is operating the body. And yeah, like, we need to get access to this information to stand in our sovereignty, because the Queen is not different than us. I don't know if you guys, if some people don't believe me, that's very simple. You guys can just type the last, maybe I can try to do that, like follow up, and I will try to find it for you guys, and I will share this information on my screen, so you will see what I mean. Just continue. I'm going to make a research quickly.
Yeah, no, brilliant. I was just saying, you know, one of the good things to get, Roman, if you haven't got it, is the Black's Law Dictionary Edition 4. You know, it's quite hard to acquire this one. You can acquire ones higher editions, but if you can get Black's Law Dictionary Edition 4 is the one, you know, with all their terminology, and you just have to learn to play them at their own game. But the trouble is, they hide so much from the people, and the people in the UK have been so indoctrinated over the years by the TV, the mainstream media using NLP, you know, trolls online using convert science to try and discredit someone. You know, someone will be telling the truth about something. Everything that you've just said, I know for a fact is the truth. So, and then you'll get someone come online and discredit that, say it's a conspiracy because they're paid by government agencies to discredit people. And I always say to people is, once you know the truth, stand by that truth. No matter what anyone says, no matter what anyone calls you, you know, sticks and stones, name calling was done at school. Anyone who does it outside school is very childish to me. But stick by the truth and learn it. In the UK, they've hidden our constitution, our Bill of Rights, the common law. They haven't trained any solicitors or lawyers on the common law since the 1970s. So when you speak to a solicitor, you know, they don't know really what you're going on about. I spoke to some solicitors a couple of weeks ago, because in the paperwork I hold on our children, we have loads of witness statements from the police, all unsigned, that another police constable typed up and used his own words, and that is allowed in court. Now that is beyond me, that's beyond my comprehension, that's beyond law, that isn't law, that's all fake. So basically the police can write what they want. Exactly as you said earlier, they are not here to serve and protect the public anymore. They only serve and protect the government. They don't serve and protect us, and that's why you're suffering what you're suffering in France. And if it goes like France in the UK, it's exactly what we'll be suffering. We have Paras Free right at this minute training for civil unrest, which they expect is going to come on the 29th of March. Now, I know you're going to try and show something, can't you? Just to quickly say that I know everyone will probably be out, thousands more in their yellow vests on the 29th of March. Hopefully a lot will do that before that, because this isn't just going to be one day now. This is going to go on for a long time. And we need as many people out there on the streets every week, sticking up for each other. Where we go one, we go all. Just to let you all say, because Roman has put something up on the screen, so I'll let you carry on, Roman.
Sure. Okay. Can you all see that document?
Yeah, that says City of Westminster.
Yes, this is the birth certificate of Princess Charlotte, the daughter of Prince Charles. This is a very interesting document. Okay, you can find it on Google. You can just Google it. It's easy access. So you are
because look at that as well. I mean, I know I got my one out, and with my last name, they put it in all uppercase. The same thing they did on the driving license. Now I'm just trying to see here that middle maiden surname.
So first of all, what is very interesting is when you look at the name of Prince Charles. So Her Royal Highness Princess Charlotte Elizabeth Diana of Cambridge. Those people don't have a family name. His Royal Highness Prince William Arthur Phillips of Duke of Cambridge. They don't have a family name. They don't have an uppercase name, those people. Paddington, Westminster, place of birth. Prince United King, yes. Place of birth reading. Princess United Kingdom occupation. Maiden surname, Middleton in uppercase letter. Is that interesting? That the only family name on that document is the maiden surname of Kate Middleton, which was all in uppercase. Do you think it's a coincidence that they wrote this this way?
That's bizarre, isn't it? See, I haven't seen that one. Obviously, we only see our own, but I haven't seen a royal family one.
That's a very interesting one. Anyone can just Google it. It's easy access on Google. I didn't make up these documents. Anyone can find it. But this is a very interesting element that is proving the point that when you are a maiden surname, when you're a peasant, when you're a slave, they write your name as an uppercase letter. As soon as you become a sovereign, Catherine Elizabeth, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Cambridge, doesn't have a family name anymore. They are true Christian. They're using the true Christian name, which is just the surname. Sorry, is it the surname? I'm a bit confused in English. The first name is the first name. Sorry, first name is family name. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Catherine Elizabeth is the, how do you call it in English?
Catherine Elizabeth. That's her first and middle name, isn't it?
The middle name. Yeah, here we go. Yeah.
Christian name and first and second name, or first and middle name.
Yeah.
First and middle name, yes. And the family name isn't written, but if you pay attention, they ask name and surname.
Yeah.
They say name and surname, and in name and surname, Catherine Elizabeth, Her Royal Highest, the Duchess of Cambridge. Where's the surname?
So they've changed name and surname to name and title.
Yeah, because shouldn't it be in Westminster? What's the last name?
It would be Windsor, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It should be Windsor. But why the name Windsor doesn't appear on that document? Okay, and also why is it a birth and not written birth certificate or birth registration? Why is it just a birth? Because it's a birth declaration. There's a difference between a registration, because registration means being between the under the regis. The regis is the king. Okay, when you register something, you basically give ownership to the king of that. But when you declare a birth, it's different. You're just declaring the existence of something. You're not registering something under the ownership of someone else. All those nuances are entirely unknown by most of our brothers and sisters. They just think that it's just an anomaly or something something like that. But the truth is that it's not.
So if you take away the titles there, that just says that Charlotte is born to Kate Middleton and some man called William. You know, if you take away the titles, that's all that's there is William, nothing else.
Exactly. So, and normally in that case was written name and surname.
Yeah.
But why William is not William Windsor? Why is it Duke of Cambridge? Like Duke of Cambridge is his surname? Or is these documents is a false documents? That's the kind of question every people should ask. Every people should go after those documents and explaining, guys, are you above the laws or are you just paying our face and writing bullshit on those documents?
Here's a question, Roman. If I was to, because you can buy a title. I don't know about in France. In the UK, you can actually buy a title. You can become a lord. You know, I'm not too sure how legal that is, but it can be done. So if I was to go and buy a title and become a lord, could I then have a child and put Jason, Lord of the Manor, and not put my surname? Would that be okay?
I guess it has absolutely nothing to do with the title. It has to do with your understanding of the law. If you know the law, then you can actually apply that. Because, like, remember, it's a club. It's a game for them. They're operating like a club. And if you are in that club, you will understand the rule of the club. But if you're not in that club, then you're going to be submitted to those laws. And remember that no one should ignore the law. So if you don't know the law, that's your problem. That's your business.
Would you also say then, I mean, obviously that's a royal family member, and like someone quite rightly pointed out, Duke, you know, the word Duke, that's their job. So it's their occupation, really. So it should come under occupation. But someone, you know, just a thought that went in my head, Roman, that is a member of the royal family. So is it, you know, are there MPs that have birth certificates like that? Who else has, apart from the royal family, has a birth certificate like that then? Is there anyone else you can think of?
They don't have birth certificate, they have birth declaration. I think all the sovereign people...
Declaration.
Yeah, they are the one who made up that system. And I believe that the people in the Vatican are also under the same laws. But this club basically hide all this information in plain sight, as you know already. Like, it's just in plain sight. It's under your face. Like, for example, in France, we live in we separate the religion from the state since 100 years now. But when you go to court, you still have to swear on the Bible. And you're like, why? Why the Bible is here? Because this is, again, ecclesiastic laws. It has to do with the maritime law. It has to do with these Khazarian families who infiltrate the court system through the Roman Empire and rebrand themselves through history. They rebrand themselves through the Roman Empire, then through the Roman Catholic Church, then through the American state, then through the Nazi state. And it's the same team of people who are operating from their own perspective, controlling people's life and not allowing anyone to understand what they do. So it's just us who can get access to it by challenging, questioning, thinking, putting the dots together to understand what it is. But it's a very efficient, very smartly organized people. And you know that the Queen of England isn't a pure English descendant. They're actually coming from Germany. They're coming from a bloodline that is actually crossing over up to Obama, up to George W. Bush. And for that, you need to get access to the Mormons in Utah, in the Utah states, who can explain you the whole history of humanity through the bloodline that is controlling the royalty in Europe and in America.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. Absolutely. Did it cut out? I think there's a delay, Jason. Can you hear me?
I think it's fine, Tracy. I think it's okay.
Oh, you can hear me. You know what? It's amazing talking to you, Roman, because like I said when we first started this, it just sounds like talking to someone here. We're exactly the same. So many of us are awake now. Trying to wake everyone else up is the hardest part. When I'm out on the streets, I'll always try and speak to people, you know, explain things. Some listen, some are just completely switched off and just think you're wearing a tinfoil hat. Conspiracy theory. They don't realise those words were made up to direct people from the truth. Two clever words. And that's why I said earlier on at the start of this, when you know the truth, stand by the truth. Just like, I do in our children's case. I know the truth. I know our children were murdered. Doesn't matter how many trolls they put on my back online, or anything like that. I don't care, because I will always stand by that. I'm a truthful person. I'm an honest person, and I'm someone who cares. I'm in it for the long haul with the yellow vest, because I don't want anyone else to feel the way we feel, and also the fact that I've woken up to what's going on in our nation, and people have to stop being a closed book. They need to start listening. They need to start trusting. And I say to people, because obviously you have the same thing, I'm presuming, in France, with the mainstream media will describe every yellow vester as far right, I'm presuming. That's what they do here, which we all know it couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, I've never met a far right person, and I've been going to demonstrations for nearly a year now, and I've been to many. And the mainstream media do that so that people don't listen to us. And all it is truth tellers telling the truth of what's going on in your nation. Now, our establishment are killing our nation. We have people being murdered on the streets. We have children being abused. We have children being trafficked. We have homelessness, dying every week. More people going on the streets through universal sanctions. Everything. They're basically, we've got people starving. Veterans committing suicide because of PTSD. There's so much going on, and I think a lot of it the nation does know, but I think it's easier for them to believe a lie than it is to face the truth. That's what I believe, because it's easier, isn't it? It's easier to just sit there and deny and blank out everything that's going on, but they don't realise what's coming.
Yeah, like normal people, as I said before, do not really care about the darkness, because they don't want to see it, because it's depressing, and because they feel powerless already in their whole life, that seeing disgusting things just make them feel miserable, and that's not a sensation that people want to feel. So I understand that point. I've been through that. Now I spend so much time looking for solutions, and I have access to so much solutions that now, like, looking at the darkness doesn't really scare me anymore. Like I did my due diligence. I made some research in alternative health, in quantum physics, in politics, in international economy, in crypto money, in technology, free energy, like so many different approaches that can provide a heaven on earth, that now I just like get excited about how I'm going to bring this technology to the world, more than paying attention to how those disgusting beings are playing the play of that game, because I don't blame them. Like, they are doing their part of the game for whatever purpose, because I believe that there's a much bigger plan, and that those people are playing the role of doing disgusting things, because chaos is a huge element of moving people into a different energy. So I believe that today things are moving forwards, and we would not be able to move without the intervention of those psychopaths. So I don't wish to do what they do. I don't wish to be who they are, but I don't have any hate in my heart, because having hate in my heart would actually bring me to their level, where I'm just letting them playing their games in their sick world, and I'm just focusing on building a new one. And that's why when I had this opportunity through the Yellow Vest movement to starting to spread ideas, because I knew those things for years already, starting my journey 10 years ago now. And I've been very quick. Like, I explore spirituality, I explore quantum physics, I explore alternative medicine, as I said. But every time I was trying to talk to this about people were like, leave me alone. Like, I don't care about your stuff. I'm happy. If I'm sick, I'm just going to the hospital and I'm fine. It's only now that people are realizing, oh, by the way, if you go to the hospital, they're going to inject you product that will actually make you even sicker. So you can go back to them, so you can pay money, so you can make business on your health. And it's just now that people really face the darkness of the illusion of safety and the illusion of happiness that they were access to, then suddenly they're going to be aware and open to listen to more ideas. And this is where I'm standing in that place to slowly share information, because I don't want to overwhelm the people with everything I know, because I know that it's something that is very challenging already. But in the meantime, I'm focusing on building a better world, not fighting the old one. Because like if you care about something and you use that word because you care is probably the most powerful energy that is available for human. The problem is that people today do not care. That's the problem. And when you do not care, it doesn't matter, which means that the matter is not produced. Like, you are not manifesting thing in your reality if you do not care about things. And the fact that you care about what happened to your kids and what happened to the children of the world, make it matter to others. Okay, so this is how energy works. Like, because you care about something, you're going to pay attention, because care is a currency. It's an energy. The energy that you're going to spend to care about things are going to shift and morph reality. And that's, again, what people don't understand. They think that currency is money. Money is not a currency. Money is a pocket of time available. The currency is the energy and the attention that you're giving to things to make them move forwards. And because you have that care, and because you have that love inside of your heart for not your children, for the children of the world, people are seeing you as someone they can trust, because you care.
I think a lot of people, I think society, because they have been indoctrinated, have become a walk-on-by society. I think that they've become quite a selfish society. Well, it hasn't happened to me, so why should I care? Exactly what you're saying. But they should care. It's all been indoctrinating, especially in the schools, the colleges and universities, and places like that. They're starting with the young now. I actually took my youngest out of school, and he is homeschooled. Since all of this, funny enough, since last year, with what happened and what I woke up to, and waking up to everything that's gone on. So that's what I actually did. And people would be shocked at how many children are actually homeschooled. It is a lot more than they have ever told you. You think it's not many. It's in the thousands. So go on, Roman.
I'm saying it's a good sign. It means that the people are also waking up on the illusion of education and the false education that they receive at school. And the best way to protect them is to take care of their own education the way it should be. Like, the parents should be the only educators. Before that, they need time. They need energy and time for that. And the whole system has dismantled family by making everyone a slave. And the woman was the first one to be happy to go to work and to be another slave, where their role was to actually maintain the holistic approach of the family. But now the system won by dismantling the family, making everyone believe that freedom is being capable of buying bullshit that are completely useless for all of us, denying the right to kids to spend time with the mother and their father more than with other kids who are going to all be brainwashed by the same mindsets.
Absolutely, but I've got to say, the only subject we're struggling with at the moment is history. Because everything we've been taught growing up hasn't been right, has it? The history we've been taught for certain reasons of certain wars and things like that, it has not been correct. So that's the only thing we're struggling with at the moment in getting my youngest taught. But it's much nicer to know that you can teach them to be free, to have freer thinking, and things like that, because that's the main thing in this country. And you're right, we're in a prison. We're in a prison without bars. Bars we can't see. We're debt slaves. That's all we are to the establishment. They don't give a damn about the people, and it's about time everyone stood up, and that's what we're doing on the streets. And as I said, thanks to the French citizens for inspiring us to do that, because for many years people have been doing demonstrations I've only been doing demonstrations since March of last year, and the first place I went was Speaker's Corner. Me, another parent, and a grandparent, we went to Speaker's Corner and spoke out about what happened to our children to just anyone who would listen. And it's gone on from that to us joining demonstrations, to us finding out that demonstrations in this country has been going on for 20 years, but they don't show it in the mainstream media, so no one knew. You know, and it's waking up to the fact that all this is going on. No one knew, waking up to the fact of the mainstream media. You know, we're in dire straits. It's a battle for survival now. It's a battle for humanity. That's what I purely really feel this is a battle for now. Everywhere. It's in many countries. Many countries have stood up, probably more than we even realise, Roman, you know, because we're only seeing certain amounts, aren't we, of who has actually stood up. I think I saw a live feed of even in Iraq that they've stood up.
Which country? Iraq?
Iraq.
Okay, I haven't heard about Iraq, but I trust you. Yeah, it's a global movement that is, I believe, following a certain astrological agenda. Many people spoke about 2012 as the beginning of a new cycle. Some people spoke about the 90s after 2012, and then there's going to be a new beginning happening. And I believe all this is happening for a reason. And we are now living that so-called apocalypse moment, which actually literally mean the awakening, like removing the veil. Apocalypsos mean when you remove the veil and you actually face the lies and you realize the truth, and you're just going to bring the light to the darkness. And that's why I have a lot of hope for the future. A lot of things look scary and dark, but I'm not afraid of chaos. Chaos is a part of life. I fully integrate the notion of death and the necessity of dying at what you were and rebirthing of what you will be. So I honor this phase of chaos as a transformation, a transmutation that women understand really well, because when they give birth, they actually suffer that chaos that allow birth to happen, and the phoenix to die at what he was and burn down to the ashes to be able to rebirth into a purest version of itself. So I understand that historical chaos that we're going through as a way to burn all the impurity that we were polluted with, and in order to be able to rebirth in a better version of ourselves. So I'm trying to keep distance and not being too much attached to the events, because if you get attached to the events, then you lose the sense of history. But it's not always easy, because we're humans, and sometimes we see disgusting things where really like make our blood burn in our veins. But then this is where wisdom and philosophy is supporting the distress of being a human being, because that's not an easy path. And if it was too easy, we would get bored, and if it's getting too chaotic, we will not survive. So the whole idea is to find a fine-tuned balance between a little bit of balance and a little bit of movement, and that's what I hope humanity is going to go towards.
Someone has put in here, Roman, they've put, why are the French not giving the police the same violence they have dished out, eye for an eye? They have now got guns. I don't know where that's come from, but it's got, are you going to let them shoot your people without any retaliation? It's a question, so I'm just asking it.
Yeah, it's a very important question, and a lot of people are wondering that. And my answer is and will always be that if you're fighting fire with fire, you're just going to transform a flame into a huge fire. So you cannot fight an energy with the same energy. You need to fight it with the opposite one. You only can stop fire with air or with water. And if you're trying to stop violence with violence, you will just end up in a big bloodbath, which is maybe what those people think. Because, we also live in a very fascinating world where people have a really weird understanding of what violence is. They see violence on TV, they don't see it physically. And because like until 100 years ago, 200 years ago, we used to face violence in its most ugly way. Like even just 50 or 70 years ago, during the Second World War, violence was real, was true. Now we are bombarded by fake violence for the last 30 years, and we think that because we see a little bit of blood on TV, we understand what it is. I can tell you, when you're facing someone that has been his face smashed, your level of understanding of violence, suddenly, like, you have a shock of reality, and like, oh wow, that's what it is. So, like, yeah, some people think that maybe one day we'll just have to go out with our own guns and starting to shoot the cops. So then they will actually starting to realize that this shit needs to go, and this is an option. I don't say it is not. I'm just saying this is not the one that I can advocate for. I will respect everyone that will take that responsibility, but I cannot advocate for that. So this is my responsibility. My responsibility is to try to find reason and try to bring reason. And for example, we had an initiative last weekend where I did a speech in front of the Parliament of Navarre in the city of Po in the southwest. And people can find it on my page. And that in some of that speech, some people send me messages asking, why did you honor the death of the cops who suicide? And I had to explain, guys, they are French. Like, if we are playing that game of separation and division, you know what, like, the Yellow Vest movement has 70% of the population support, but there's probably less than 1% who is going out in the streets. Are we telling that, like, the other 69% of people are cowards? Or they are like useless people? No, they're just people who think about themselves before thinking about the nation. Guess what? That's what the cops are doing. They're thinking about themselves before thinking about the nation. They're protecting their job before protecting people's citizens. Can I dare to blame them, where I know that the people in the Yellow Vest movement only represent 1% of the population with 70% of support? Like, why there's not 70% of the people outside doing the job? Why? Because the people, again, put their own personal interests before the nation. So, like, I cannot blame the cops, or I will also have to blame the Yellow Vest and say, guys, like, just go up to the end of your conviction and do something. No, don't just support, like putting a thumb up, like like that disease of yeah, go buddy, like, I'm going to give you a thumbs up, and then I'm going to criticize what you're doing, and I'm going to give you my opinion as if your opinion matter. I don't care about people's opinion. I care about what people do, about people's action. And this is something that people forget about it, because they spend so much time living through TV that they forget that there's a life outside of TV, and that reality isn't what they watch on TV. And it's so easy today to criticize people online, like, where, like, comfortably seated on your bum, telling you, oh, you should do the things this way or this way. Like, I'm sure you also get a lot of those messages. Say, guys, don't tell me what to do. Show me what to do. Don't tell me what to do. Show me what to do. And suddenly, I don't know, but I can't, or I'm too busy, or blah, blah. Okay, so shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. So, like, don't tell me what to do. Show me what to do. So I made that speech. If you think you can make a better speech, claiming that we should kill cops and everything, you're going to learn something that you didn't obviously learn because life didn't show you that. It's called cause consequences. If you say something stupid, you're going to get stupid reactions. And unfortunately, we had to experiment that on Saturday, because Saturday night, some people actually did a night event, and they went to the police office, and they're starting to damage the police office, sending Molotov cocktails and burning the place. They were excited. Guess what? They end up in the tribunal, and 4 of them are now in jail. Great, guys. This is called reality. Welcome to reality. You thought it was a game. It's not a game. You thought you can just do whatever you want. Well, that's not reality. Reality is based on cause and effect. If you're doing stupid things, you're going to have consequences. So to those people who think that, oh, you just have to take some weapons and shoot cops, please show me. Come in, friends, with your guns, and show me. Don't tell me what to do. Come and show me.
Yeah, absolutely. You do get a lot of people that just sit there, say, well, that wasn't good on Saturday, yet they weren't there. The same thing when they make up these groups and use that movement for their own agenda, sharing the people who are out there, their live feeds, their pictures, making it look like their own, and then trying to dictate. You're right. If you've got something to say, if you think you can do something better or anything like that, exactly the same. Come out and show us. We know everyone can't get there, and there is a lot of support from people who generally can't get there, who will share, who will spread the word out there. Like a lady's just put in the group here. as well. I'm just trying to look to see if there's any more questions for you. Has anyone got a question for Roman before we wrap this up at all? I'm just going to scroll up, Roman. What advice could you give us here in the UK? Obviously, we only started this just before Christmas. You've been going a lot longer. A lot more people are out on the streets in France. I think a lot of people here are waiting for the 29th of March. You know, I personally don't think waiting, because I don't think we're going to get Brexit. And if they do a deal, it will only be Brexit in name only. That's just my personal opinion, and I know thousands of others believe that. So, you know, we're out on the streets for all the injustices, including Brexit, you know, including my son and including everyone else's. So, you know, I personally don't believe in just waiting for the 29th of March, because in the meantime, we have loads of atrocities going on our streets. But what advice could you give to us, Roman, in the UK, to anything you've seen? I know you was only here for that one weekend, a couple of weekends ago, but any advice that you think you could give us to maybe, you know, get more of a unity from the groups to come out, to stop people with agendas. You know, we're the same as you. There is no leaders, only organisers. We don't care who walks up the front. You know, I walk anywhere in the crowd, at the back, at the side, in the middle. It's quite nice when someone else is using the megaphone and using their own voice and telling their own story out there. It's a people's movement. You know, so any advice you can give us at all in the UK that you feel has worked, is working over there?
Well, it's difficult to give an advice, because it's two different situations, it's two different culture. The French people, like the word French is coming from the roots franc and also free. And that's something that I said during that speech. The Franc knows, the Francais, the French, the Franc knows, because when you are frank, then you're freeing yourself. You know, because you're doing things, you're not hiding yourself. And this is something that is very different in England. Like in England, you have that political correctness that blocks people to be frank and to dare to upset the emotional, the other's emotions. And this is blocking a lot of experience, because when you are thinking about how the people are going to react, you basically remove that opportunity to try and to try really to see if people are really reacting the way you think, which is something that people in France doesn't really do. Like when we think something, we just say it. That's it. Like, fuck your feelings, basically. Like, you can't bear with it. That's your problem. That's not mine. And that's something that really allows us to be free in ourselves. So it's just that point was about the difference in the culture. From what I saw in England is that, like, the English people seems to be quite happy in general. What I saw is that like there's a kind of an average mentality, but I just came through London, so it's not really easy to evaluate, you know. But the only advice that I could give you guys is to basically first be ready, because one day or another, the system is going to show you the true face of what it is, and it could be through the Brexit. I really hope that you guys are going to leave that trap that is called EU. But something is telling me that they're not going to let you go like this. And if this is happening, then you guys will have your trigger, something that will trigger. So be ready, and meanwhile, educate yourself. Because something that really helped to federate the whole movement is that we have the antidote, and that antidote is the RIC. And the RIC didn't just happen this way. It's the work of a guy called Etienne Chouard, which actually spread the RIC movement across the country for the last 10 years. Most of his followers, like, he must probably had something like 50 to maybe 70,000 followers, which is not a lot, considering the amount of work that guy did. But the thing is that as soon as the movement triggered, then we were all ready. Like, all the people who followed his work for years and understood the trick of not having the initiatives and being politically powerless, we got it. And as soon as we had an opportunity to go out and speak to people, and the people were really upset, because when you're upset, the good point is that you're getting open to solutions. You know, you're not just upset for the pleasure of being upset. You're upset, so suddenly you open your ears. And as soon as the people open the ears, I just constantly spread RIC to every people's brain, until they were like, yeah, you're right. This is the solution. We need to have a right to initiate our own political destiny. And that's a very simple idea. It's just like people are spending so much time giving their opinion about stupid things, especially today. Like people are voting and writing comments all the time, giving and sharing their opinion. But as soon as you're starting to talk about political, oh, no, you know, like we need professional to do that. So wait a second, why that? Is it something really true? Like, is there absolutely 100% truth in that point that people are like, they are intelligent enough to choose which job they want to make, which house they want to buy, which car they want to buy, which study they want to make, which choice they want to make, but they're too stupid to decide about their destiny? Is it absolutely true? And if it's not, what can we put in place to allow people to have their point about what they truly care about, what truly matters to them? And that very tiny, simple idea made a lot of resonance in the people. So now that the people understand the RIC, they're not going to let go. Like, for example, Macron organized a debate, and we're like, who cares about the debate? We want the RIC. Oh, no, we can't give you the RIC. Okay, so fuck you. Fuck you. You don't want to give us the RIC, then we're just going to protest until the country will go as a third world country. We will not stop until we have the RIC. Because you know the antidote, you know the solution. Like if you don't know it, then you can spend the entire life living, because you can't suffer of something that you don't know. But as soon as you know the solution, and you know how simple this solution is, like, why are we fighting against immigration, about religion, about economics, about rich people, capitalism, globalism, GMOs, and who cares about that? If we can put a constitutional right to initiate referendum from our own initiatives, then we can then ask referendums about everything. Do you guys want to have GMOs in your plate? 50% or more of people said no. Right. The people said no GMOs, get out. Do you want guys to inject 11 vaccines in the body of your babies before they're 3 years old? Yes or no? No? Get out. You know, it's very simple. The RIC can solve all those problems. And the people in power are terrified about the fact that we know what it is. And they're doing those stupid things that like the one that I explained a little bit earlier, like this anti-breakers law, which now criminalize protest. Like, which level of insanity is bringing representatives which are now thinking that it's okay to criminalize protests? As I said during my speech, I said, guys, you guys are the representative. The representative is someone that is present at the place of someone else. It's representing someone. So I am present. I'm presenting for you. Who gives you the right to tell me what to do? You are my employee. I am your employer. Without me, you are nothing. Who gives you the dream that you could actually tell me what to do, what to think, where to go? You are my bitch. So get out of the way, leave us alone, and let us do what we have to do, because it's going to really end in really badly if they don't understand. And something is telling me that they understand. That's why they're doing such stupid things, because they're getting terrified. And when they're getting terrified, they do stupid things. And something's telling me that they're going to do it more stupid and more stupid and more stupid until the threshold. There's going to be a threshold. I don't know if it's going to come from the police, if it's going to come from some people starting to weaponize themselves, or if it's coming, but something is going to trigger. I don't know if children will have to die. I don't know if something as bad as that will have to happen for the people to say, enough is enough. We've been way too far now.
Well, exactly. You know, it's like what happened in our children's case. And I know kindly a lot of people in this country stood up because of our boys. And our boys' case, I know, did wake some up. I know thousands were woken up before that, you know, but like when it happened in Manchester, you know, I thought thousands of people would stand up then. But what you had it mentioned for about a week on Facebook, then it wasn't mentioned again until they had the concert about it, and then it wasn't mentioned again until it was the anniversary, and playing songs like "Don't Look Back in Anger" at it. You have to look back in anger. You have to not accept it. I'm on the same page as you. I'm not going anywhere till this country changes. Direct democracy is what you're talking about. Freedom. And that's what we should have as people. And that's what we should have had years ago, before it was infiltrated by, as you use the word, pirates, because that's exactly what it is. We've been infiltrated by pirates. And funny enough, the maritime law actually was there to protect the smugglers, which are pirates. So it all makes sense. Roman, I'm sorry. I just want to read what Elizabeth Taylor, if it's the real Elizabeth Taylor, it'd be really great, but I doubt it. She's put, "We are many and they are few. Onwards and upwards, united we stand. We stand with France, Vive la France, and the rest of the countries where all the people have stood up." I want to thank you for your time tonight. I'm so glad we had a discussion, and we'll have to do it again in a few months down the line. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you to everyone in the room tonight that have been listening and watching and listening to you, Roman. It's all, you know, positive remarks. And we stand as one. Where we go one, we go all. We'll keep you updated, and please keep us updated of what is going on in France.
Yeah, I just share in a chat the link to my Facebook page. So if some people want to get in touch with me, it's called RIC, Referendum Initiated by the Citizen. And you can just like the page and send me a message. I'm answering to everyone, as long as they are respectful and honorable people. And yeah, like happy to come back whenever you guys want. And bear with me because I'm also working on a very interesting project. It's an alternative Facebook platform that will allow people to basically stop experimenting censorship and probably getting access to another way of operating together and managing our time together. So if you guys are interested to join that project, this is big. It's an international project that has the goal to give revenue to the people who are going to basically do what they love, which is to be social, to like generate interaction between people, and yeah, basically creating a new way to manage our time and our relationships together. It's a very ambitious system that wants to merge capitalism and socialism into one platform that will allow people to think differently and educate themselves through a referendum initiated by the members. So the people will have the right to change the platform by their own initiatives, and they will be able to learn what it is to get responsible for your ideas and educate yourself without censorship and with love.
That's brilliant. And I think that's a fantastic way to go, because we're all sick of the censorship and the dictatorship on Facebook. The reason why I stay on Facebook is because there's, you know, thousands on there that are being woken up. So it's been useful for that. But now when we're doing live feeds, they're putting green screens, you know, they're only allowing so many shares. They're dictating to us and they're censoring us, and censorship was voted against. And it's these things, you know, that people need to see. So changing at some point to a whole new platform to wake people up and let them choose exactly what you said, free thinking, and teach your children that, you know. I teach my youngest it, like I said, I homeschool him now, and there are thousands of people. I know that's hard for people who work. You know, I'm lucky enough that I can still do bits and pieces of work at home. So it is slightly different for me. But Roman, a pleasure. Next time you're in the UK, we will have to meet up, and I'll buy you a drink. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to everyone in the room. I'll see any of you out there on the street soon. Take care. Where we go one, we go all, and never surrender. Never. Thank you.
Thank you.